Good evening, everyone. I'm watching the most beautiful sun break through the clouds. Here it comes. It's been a somewhat rainy day here. It's been one of those, slightly overcast days. But a couple light rain showers, nothing big. Actually, I guess looking around, it didn't even rain over here. Anyway, it was a good day to walk out in the backyard, look up at the sky. Let's just put it that way. No man-made contrails, no pollution in the atmosphere. It's just nice and clean and fresh. And whenever I see that, I wonder how many more years are we going to have of this? Will my grandchildren have the opportunity to see such a thing? And to be sure, there will always be sunsets, whether they be through the haze of smog or red clouds or a nuclear winter. Perhaps there would be a break for a moment. But beyond that, in reality, we're heading for some really a rough future for our kids. And when I was, let's say in my teen years, I told myself I will never have kids. I said I'll never bring children into this world because this place is fucked up. And I really think that attitude started maybe around when I was 17, 18, when I started reading more conspiracy type stuff. And I got really involved in, just obsessed with the idea that the government was hiding so many things. All these projects, Blue Book and Grudge, the alien UFO conspiracy. Moving on to, various assassination plots throughout history, corporate greed, how it's tied to political greed, and all these different things. And I was dismayed, I was a pretty conscious kid, or so I thought. But even at that age, I was pretty moved by the idea of my reality of the world being deflated in front of me. Although the things that I read were just things that I'd read, but they moved me to the point where I had to say, okay, these things are just too much to take as a chance. Many of them were just foolish notions, subjective opinions, or conspiracies that were never proven. But so much of it was true. The book I read, one was Behold a Pale Horse by William Cooper. And William Cooper was kind of he was the guy that Alex Jones basically rode his coattails, and that's how he got famous. But Cooper wasn't anything like Jones. He called Jones a piece of shit. But he was eventually surrounded and gunned down on his own property, and there's a conspiracy surrounding that whole thing by itself. Anyway, the things I read in that book blew me away. And he was ex-military, so I didn't know what was true and what wasn't, but at that young of an age I began this quest for knowledge. And it's been 20 years since then. And the things that I've found have amazed and surprised and saddened and angered me, made me overjoyed and curious and pissed off. And so for the last 5 years, I've really taken an approach of avoiding these things, these subjects, because I feel like they're out of my control. And in the last couple days, I've been kind of sick. Don't mind me if I sound bad. I can't hear out of my right ear. My sinuses have been messed up. I got like my trachea tube or whatever. It was like blocked. So it's finally starting to clear, but I was in extreme pain for a couple days. And I was kind of, incapacitated in a way, laying there just thinking about not thinking negative, but rather piecing out. I watched a lot of episodes of Vice, and I started thinking of these world issues and piecing all these things together and saying, what's the bigger picture here? Why are we in this situation? How did we get ourselves here? More importantly, can we get ourselves out? Is it even possible? And I started to think about all these things that have come out, which were things that I know, that I feel like I should speak up on, but that I've just distanced myself from because, and I mean this not offensively, but much of the conspiracy or truther community has become infiltrated, and it's just a bunch of nonsense and secondhand opinions, and nobody will take any real scientific evidence. They just call everybody a shill and a liar and a troll and block them and move on. So I abandoned that whole scene because of those people that were claiming to be the ones spreading truth, the ones claiming that they wanted truth, that everyone else was sheeple. And so I started to get this negative attitude towards the whole conspiracy community. And I shouldn't even say conspiracy, I guess I should use the word truther community, but it's ridiculous because really, what good is a truther? What are you trying to spread truth about? And that's what I realized, is that, many of these people who call themselves truthers, and they mean to get a lot of hits and a lot of views on their channel and spread ideas that they've heard secondhand and they have no personal experience with. But not just one or two, but every one of them, whether the moon be a hologram or reptilians are among us. And I feel personally like the whole reptilian agenda and people talking about archons and the Illuminati, all this is a complete bullshit waste of time, because it doesn't matter if it's true or not. There are issues right now that we can deal with, such as the factories that are burning in our own backyard, or maybe even our behaviors or the way that we act personally, the jobs that we choose to take, what do we teach our kids, the values we teach our children and ourselves. Are we bitching about global warming and working in a coal mine? Well, a lot of people do. A lot of people work in that industry, and we're stuck. We're fucked, people, as humanity. We're at a crossroads where if we really want to switch off and try to change anything and turn off the pollution, turn off our environmental distress, it would take a complete reformulation of our way of life around the planet, and people aren't ready for that. And there is a tipping point where we've gone too far, and where we've let things get too out of control, and there is no turning back. And I guess part of it for me was I got to the point where I started to think that we were kind of at that point already, that we'd reached that juncture where, yeah, we're 60 years ahead of our global warming schedule, the polar ice caps are melting, the coastlines will be inundated, weather's getting worse, and there's people worrying about the silliest things and making the biggest deal out of them, and you have to wonder how much of this is put on by people who want you to be distracted, and how much of it is just our own fucking ignorance and distracting ourselves. Because I know I hear the word they a lot, like they want us distracted and they don't want us to learn and they want to block us. But the truth is, 90% of the time, it's us blocking ourselves from reality by refusing to accept what we're given, what's right in front of us. And when we're wrong, refusing to say, okay, I was wrong, big deal. Because the worst conspiracy is the one we create in our own head. The conspiracy that's right in front of our face is the way that our planet's being devastated. But not just that, but the way that people are being herded and used as commodities. Human trafficking, baby production, human rights being violated, people being told how many children they can or can't have, forced to have children, not allowed to have children. People thinking they can get into everybody's business and everybody's fucking pockets. And even the poorest of the poor get raped. Raped and pillaged by the hand of what you might call the man. And that's not just the man in our country, that's the man everywhere. I hate talking about this shit because it's bothersome to me to even get involved. It's something I can't change. But the reality is that it's more bothersome not to step up and just talk about it, because I get quite riled up sometimes when I, really start digging to see what's still going on, the things that still haven't changed, the way we're still lied to by our own government, and any attempt to orchestrate or change these problems is met with resistance by the people who are sworn to protect us. Not only the military, but the police, who have, over the last 20 years, increased their military-type capabilities by thousands of percent. The smallest little towns have tanks now, and a lot of people are scared. They think that these police forces are arming up for a nationwide takeover of martial law, to pacify the people. And that might be an agenda of some, but the reality is the reason why police are gaining so much of this, so many of these, weapons and cars is because of civil forfeiture laws, where they're allowed to basically take as much money as they want. I think it was in, New York or Chicago, where they confiscated money, something $61 million worth of money in 1 year. And they use it to buy all kinds of random shit. Even got busted buying a slushy machine, or a margarita machine, One guy bought an ice, one of those Zamboli machines or whatever, the ice smoothing surfacers. It's basically just corruption. And corruption is at every level. And the police are no different. And I'm sorry if you're a police officer that's an honest one, I'm sorry that you got sucked into a system in a time when there aren't really many honest cops left anymore. Because the ones that are suckered into the system and basically beaten. Just like what's happened, in my opinion, and I won't get into politics here, but with Obama. I don't think Obama is the devil. I don't think he's an antichrist. I don't think he got in there to cause problems or to take anybody's guns away. My belief is that Obama went into office with the intention to actually change things. And when he got there, and you can see by the look on his face and how much he's grayed, he realized there ain't nothing you can do. The president doesn't have any authority over the military. The president doesn't have any authority over Congress. The president doesn't have any authority over anything. It's just a figurehead for a failed machine that we call America. And by saying that, I can be labeled as a non-patriot. So let's say we start talking about these issues and people don't like it. They do quiet people. They do shut people up if they get too big. And this is why we can't get into groups to fight against tyranny. We can't organize huge groups and say, all right, we're going to resist our government or resist tyranny. Because when we do, it's out there in the world. And the government already knows ahead of time. Everything can be quashed quickly if it's known about. That's why it's an individual freedom fight. It's an individual search for truth. And if each person finds something they're passionate about and brings it to the table, then overall we have a consensus of what's really important. And that's kind of the way I see the world. And so congratulations to all the people out there who have actually, are willing to speak their minds. And thank you to all the people who have actually had to lose their lives because of trying to spread the truth. Because, there's some really deep shit that goes on out there. And a lot of people that don't get the credit they deserve. Scientists who are trying to promote free energy. You start talking about it, people are like, oh, you're loony. It's conspiracy stuff. And it's really not. It's really not. It's just that it gets mixed up in everything else. Our government has been testing on us for decades. Our own military has been using civilians as long as we can remember as just commodities, whether it be as a soldier or as an American test subject on some new virus. So we're on our own. And trying to get together in a group of even a few people, you'll get quashed, like I said. So just wisen up, be smart, and we'll figure it out on our own. I don't know. What else do you say about it, right? I just wanted to get a few points across like that. And, just fight it where you see it, I guess. Fight trouble where you see it. We don't have to be a pacifist. Pacifism is a route that at one time I thought was viable, but I'm now here to change my tone completely and say pacifism never did a goddamn thing for anybody. Passive resistance, people who passively resist only get trampled by those who are willing to take advantage. And it's not that it's a cutthroat world, because most people want to be good people, but there are a lot of cutthroat people. And it only takes 1 in 100 cutthroats to ruin a whole group. So be vigilant and use their own weapons against them, metaphorically. Hold people accountable wherever you see them doing wrong. That's all I'm saying, I guess. Peace. Have a great night.